Hey guys, it's BrettFX here, and I'm just going to be bringing a short little video. It's not going to be too often long, but just going to have a quick little conversation about my thoughts on some of the recent news that came out for Battlefield 5. If you guys don't know, you haven't been following it very quickly, Battlefield 5, they've been really trying to revamp their whole communication with the community. They've basically been coming out with a whole bunch of roadmaps or AMAs on Reddit, all kinds of stuff like that, to try and patch up what a lot of people deem is a mistake happening back in May and June. So they came out with a roadmap, and I'm assuming this is their Tides of War service. It's pretty muddy on all that, but basically they have a roadmap coming out, and I'll probably put an image up here on the video. But they talk about what's going to happen here in the first couple of months. So everything from December all the way going into March, because the game has been delayed since November 20th. So officially, November doesn't even exist as a month to have stuff come out in. Now, as a competitive-oriented channel, as a competitive-oriented player, a caster, a lot of this stuff doesn't really matter to me. I don't know how much it would matter to you guys who follow me on this channel either, but we did get some information about how potential maps are going to be coming out. We are going to be getting a practice range happening in sometime in December, January. Cosmetics are going to be coming out. Not the launch, or as many of them, it doesn't seem like. More will be coming out as this Tides of War service is going to be taking place. Possibly some new maps as well. Moving into January and March, looks like that's where we're going to be seeing some modes being introduced. And I'm not too sure if these are going to be like temporary modes. They did kind of hint that maybe that's the case. It's going to be just there for a couple of months and then gone, kind of similar to what we saw in the game modes in Battlefield 1. I don't really know how I feel about that, to be honest with you. I know there were several people who liked that idea. To me, it feels like it's a waste of developer time, resources, to develop one-off modes, settings, versions, and throwing them away. I would rather them put their time and effort into building a game mode with settings that I as a player am going to want to play for the entirety of the game, not just a few days and then throw it away. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to be received. But they are talking about new grand operations happening in January to March. The return of a revamped Rush. They kind of hinted that they're going to be taking out the MCOMs in some way, putting in maybe some bomb sites, like actual bombs themselves that you have to blow up, or possibly even in the introduction, because maybe you can read into it, the introduction of a actual bomb that you have to pick up. They have introduced into their grand operations, if you guys didn't play it in the beta, the ability to pick up a bomb and to plant it on an artillery piece. So it really wouldn't surprise me too much if we did see that as the new Rush, which I don't really like, because the whole point of Rush is to be able to, you're forcing back this defense over and over and over and over again. You're slowly, walking up the map, and then all of a sudden you're able to plant those bombs, or maybe you can get a sneaky plant in the back. With the way that they have it in the grand operations, you're going to be able to see where that player's at. Now, they may take that out, but there's a ping system for the player who has the bomb. And plus, there's a lot of ways that you control by having the bomb. We saw this in Squad Obliteration. Some of the guys, while we were scrimming it and even playing it, they'd pick up the bomb and they'd go, to the other ends of the map. That wasn't fun. I see this leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. It does have some potential, but ultimately I don't think it's going to be too good. Now, the one that really interests me the most in the January-March setting is the Squad Conquest. And I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to quote, I guess, what they actually said about it. Speaking of classic modes, in Squad Conquest, you'll take on the most iconic way to play Battlefield, but in a more intense way. Only 16 players, 2 squads per team, will fight for the map domination. So that sounds fantastic. That's like, oh my god, did they actually listen to years and years of players saying that 8v8 was a way to go. But they don't really put in a whole lot of what it really is going to be. I'm curious to see if they actually try and temper the maps for an 8v8 setting. I'm curious to see if this is going to be a true conquest and not like a domination style. I'm curious to see if they add vehicles and it's not just infantry. There's a lot of ifs of what this could be, but it does kind of highlight a potential for the competitive scene as of now. So 5v5 in Battlefield 1, in my opinion, had a lot more to do than what we saw for 8v8 and 10v10s in Battlefield 1. To be completely honest, the maps in Battlefield 1 were atrocious. Only large conquest really killed off any kind of competitive play for vehicles. And the vehicles themselves were just not that interesting. So 5v5s were really left with basically domination. And you did see incursions, of course, coming up in the latter part of Battlefield 1. So with this particular mode coming out, it could give an opportunity for small conquest that we all know and love to come back in its own mode. It could give an opportunity for vehicle players to finally have a place that they can play, not only in a competitive offline, scrimming private server format, but also in a public format. I mean, how awesome is it to be able to queue up for an 8v8 and be able to actually play even if you don't have a team to scrim with? So that's pretty cool if this is the case. Now, one of the things that is worrying about this is the fact that there is no mention of RSP. Nowhere in this roadmap does it say anything about a rental server program. Nowhere in this roadmap do they even hint at the fact that they are going to potentially talk about RSP. All we have gotten so far from the developers are, well, we are working on it, and hopefully when we get news, we'll tell you. So what that basically tells me is that we're probably not going to get RSP until late spring of next year, if that. And if we do get RSP, it's going to look very similar to what Battlefield 1 had, where it's very, very limited in terms of the actual settings that you have, and it's very limited into what you can do as a community in terms of privatizing your server, putting a password on it. I don't really see this working out very well for the competitive community itself. Now, I know that's not what you guys want to hear, and trust me, that's not what I want to think, but that's what I think. I feel like what we saw in Incursions was what the developers really had planned for competitive, their idea of competitive, which was a 5v5 setting with no private servers, but a matchmaking system along with a lobby system that will have predetermined settings into it with very minimal ability to change them, so that you have a consistent experience across the board without having to purchase a server in order to practice. Which is all good and fine. That's something that I kind of have been wanting to have since Battlefield 3. I know that I played in, back in the day when I was still on console, I played in game battles. I played in custom matches on Halo 3, Halo 2, Call of Duty 4. I played back then where we had a lobby system. And it was really awesome to not have to purchase a server, because I did come from PC, Delta Force and Battlefield 2, where you did have to purchase servers. And it was really nice to be able to set those up right on the fly and be able to host these events or these matches or whatever it may be. So if they do end up going this route, that's very exciting. The problem is that, again, just like RSP, there has been no mention of it. There has been no update about it. There's been absolutely no information regarding anything of what Incursions could have been in Battlefield 5, if it is going to be a thing at all. So that's another thing that is a little bit worrying if you are a competitive player again. Now, we have had some teases from a couple of the devs over in DICE LA, Indigo being the most recent one, basically saying, hey, I really want to say something, but I can't. And, that right there just, I think it probably makes the community a little bit more frustrating than anything, just because it's like, well, at the very least tell us that there is something coming. Like, be a definitive answer that yes, there is going to be some competitive coming. Yes, it is going to happen for Battlefield 5, and yes, it is going to either be a 5v5 or a large-scale format. And I know that there's a lot of things. Trust me, I have had many conversations with developers, Indigo included, as to what they can and can't do and why not they do certain things. Still doesn't make it any less frustrating for us. So, with that said, does him saying that absolutely confirm competitive? I think in some ways, yes. But all it really does is say that they're working on something. It actually doesn't tell us what it's going to be. So, in this 8v8 mode, we're going back a little bit. One of the things is that people are saying, well, if this 8v8 mode comes out, it doesn't mean that we can do anything with it as a community. And I think there are some things we can do with it. Some things that the console guys have done in the past that the PC scene could implement as well. And some of the things the PC scene has implemented in the past, like we have done this in the past before in other games. So we could find empty 8v8 servers that are DICE, obviously, hosted servers. Now, it is frustrating because you do have to pile into it really fast. It is not going to be password protected, so if somebody does end up dropping, then there's an opportunity for a random to come in, and you're not going to be able to have the settings that you want. So all of your bans, all of your anything that you may have wanted to change, all of it is going to have to be something where, like we typically did with a gun or with a vehicle or with banning out certain flags, you're not going to actually be able to set tickets, set timers, anything like that. Have kill cam off, anything that amounts to, I guess you could say, the harder core settings. But what would make it competitive? So that's one solution that we could have with the 8v8. The other one is that potentially, it's something that they haven't mentioned in this roadmap, is that we will have maybe some sort of a lobby system going in at that particular time. I mean, we are talking about, 4 months after launch? So there is a potential there that we could have some sort of a lobby system or a server, RSP, that is going to be coming out that we could potentially use. Now, if RSP launches with absolutely no private servers, then you're going to be running into the same issue that we have with Battlefield 1, which is there's going to be a lot of, I think, especially on PC, organizations that would have held events that won't because of the difficulty that comes with it. Now, I think that with the rise of organizations like ESB, who has branched out into all platforms on Battlefield, and here recently really been kicking ass with holding up events for just about anybody and everybody that wants to play, then they will probably be willing to hold some stuff, because I know Code especially, he's been trucking along for quite some time, and he has found some very, very interesting ways to get around these problems that we are definitely seeing in Battlefield 1, Battlefield 3, and 4 for console, and what we're probably going to be seeing for Battlefield 5. So there is an opportunity for some 8v8 action to happen next year. There is an opportunity for some kind of competitive play, I think, to happen next year. I don't know what it's going to look like, to be honest with you. I don't know if I really don't know what competitive has in store for Battlefield 5. I am a little bit worried about the new Battle Royale mode taking over and really taking the focus of what we would want to have as competitive. I know that with the popularity of PUBG, Fortnite, and then of course Blackout coming out, and a lot of players liking Blackout, kind of makes me worried to feel that we're going to be seeing more emphasis put onto the Battle Royale Battlefield 5 than on the main game, and especially on the competitive side of Battlefield 5, in Battlefield 1 anyways, the DICE LA studios were working on. So, a lot of worry coming out from me, but There is a slight glimmer of hope, I will say, for competitive in Battlefield 5. I don't know what it's going to look like, guys, to be honest, as I said before. But I don't know. Nonetheless, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, guys. This was a very early recording. It is currently 5:30 in the morning, as I had to go into work extremely early today. So came back to the house and had nothing else to do. So I decided to go ahead and sit down and do this recording. So I do apologize if some of my thoughts weren't exactly clear, but definitely let me know what you think down in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinions. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see what the future brings us, guys. Take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.